Teamsters union leaders say Amazon missed a December 15th deadline to negotiate a first labor contract with their employees, who want sick leave, more paid time off, and wages that are comparable with FedEx and UPS.
The customers see the amount of work we do, whether rain, sleet, snow, we're constantly out here.
First ULP strike ever in this country at an Amazon facility is amazing. It was amazing, it was powerful. It was exciting, and to me, that's a huge victory for us. And not only do we show Amazon that we could set something like this up and pull it off, even in 9, 10, 11 degree weather, like just wait till it's 60, 70 degrees and the sun is out, and we're out here barbecuing and showing Amazon that if you thought our last strike was huge, just you wait.
What are you trying to do with Amazon?
I'm going to put them on their knees. I don't like Jeff Bezos.
Oh, I don't either. He also personally owns, not the company, he personally owns the most liberal newspaper in the United States, most left-wing, for the people newspaper. So I'm a little surprised to learn that he's not welcoming you guys.
Yeah, no, he lost his balls during the election. You could tell that.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He's pulling a Justin Trudeau.
I mean, I think for a guy that, he did a little growth hormone, went back in the gym, did some testosterone, he's the man. But yeah, you asked what we're going to do. We're going to organize him. We're going to make Jeff Bezos respect his workers. We're going to make Jeff Bezos an example of bad behavior from an employee. Every single day we are building momentum. We're building worker power. And, he has to understand that he's not dealing with an organization that's going to go away. We might not have the money that he has, but we definitely have one thing. We've got the workers on our side, and we got intestinal fortitude and courage and conviction to take on the fight.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And imagine being so desperate for basic dignity that you have to choose between meeting impossible quotas and your own humanity. This isn't some dystopian novel. It's reality for Amazon workers.
And we're going to Britain right now to speak with journalist James Bloodworth, who spent a month working undercover as a picker in an Amazon order fulfillment center and found workers were urinating in bottles because they were discouraged from taking bathroom breaks.
People were afraid. People were receiving disciplinaries for taking toilet breaks. The productivity targets were so high that workers were afraid to go to the bathroom. I mean, a survey came out of the Amazon warehouse I worked in recently, which found that 74% of workers there, order pickers, were afraid to use the bathrooms because of the productivity targets.
Pissing in bottles, those infamous piss jugs, became a grotesque symbol of worker exploitation during the pandemic. You'd see them everywhere, tossed out of windows, because workers were penalized if caught with them.
You said you found urine bottles, people afraid to go to the bathroom to take time?
Yeah, I found an empty Coca-Cola bottle with urine in it on the shelf. Yellow liquid, smelt it, it's very clear straight away what it is. And you put two and two together, and this has happened because there's a climate of fear, and you're afraid if you go to the toilet, which can take 5-10 minutes. Huge warehouse through security, and people are being accused of taking so-called idle time by Amazon for doing this. Everything which takes away from productivity at Amazon is seen as you're doing something wrong.
Forced into degrading conditions because billionaires like Jeff Bezos prioritize delivery targets over human dignity. That's the system that we are dealing with. But it's not just the piss jugs. It's workers standing ankle deep in sewage on freezing picket lines, risking their health and safety for wages that barely cover the bills. It's Chris Smalls fired for protesting unsafe conditions during a global pandemic. Conditions that Amazon didn't just ignore, but actively allowed. Fired for demanding protective gear that every person should have had. Can you imagine risking your health and your family's health just to keep a paycheck and then being punished for speaking up? What's worse is that these aren't isolated incidents. This is the culture that Amazon has built. Workers are constantly on camera, every movement tracked. Quotas are impossible to meet, and the moment you fall behind, you're written up. No time to breathe, no time to think, and absolutely no time to stop and pee. The physical and mental toll is unimaginable. People aren't treated like workers. They're treated like disposable cogs in a billion-dollar machine. And then, when workers fight back, Amazon spends millions to crush them. JFK 8, the first Amazon warehouse to unionize in the United States, became ground zero for union-busting tactics. Amazon hired consultants at thousands of dollars a day to intimidate workers. They churned through employees with 100% turnover rates, making it nearly impossible for unions to gain traction. But the workers workers at JFK8 didn't give up. They fought back and they won. That win came despite every trick and obstacle Amazon threw at the people. Now let's talk about Sean O'Brien and why his speech at the Republican National Convention was such a game changer. This wasn't just any speech. This was the president of the Teamsters, representing 1.4 million workers walking into the belly of the beast. Historically, unions and the Republican Party haven't exactly been best friends. Yet here we are, the first Teamster president to ever address the RNC, standing in a room full of billionaires and corporate elites. And he didn't sugarcoat anything.
I travel all across this country and meet with my members every week. You know what I see? An American worker being taken for granted. Workers being sold out to big banks, big tech, corporates, and the elite. And I'm not the only one who sees this. Everyday families see it. The American people aren't stupid. They know the system is broken. We all know how Washington is run. Working people have no chance of winning this fight. That's why I'm here today.
O'Brien laid out demands that every American worker should pay attention to. He called for trade policies that put American workers first instead of prioritizing cheap labor overseas. He demanded bankruptcy reform so corporate vultures like those who devoured yellow freight couldn't pick the bones of struggling companies while leaving workers with nothing. He called for stronger labor laws to ensure that when workers vote to unionize, they actually get contracts. No more firing union organizers without consequence. And he didn't just stop there. He exposed the hypocrisy of corporate welfare. Companies like Amazon and Walmart pay their workers so little that taxpayers end up footing the bill for public assistance programs. Meanwhile, those same companies rake in billions of dollars in profits. O'Brien called it what it is, real corruption. Workers shouldn't have to rely on food stamps while their employers sit on mountains of cash. This isn't about handouts. It's about justice. While personally, it made me cringe to hear him praise people like J.D. Vance and Josh Hawley, I understand his role as a negotiator. His job is to fight for every worker, whether they're Trump supporters or not. He's building bridges in a way that many of us wouldn't have the patience for. But that's what leadership looks like. It's about putting the mission first, just like in the military. And trust me, I know a little something about that. When I served in the United States Army, there weren't Republican units and Democrat units. There weren't independents off doing their own missions. We were United States soldiers. We had each other's backs because the mission depended on that. That's exactly what Sean O'Brien is doing. He's uniting workers across political lines because this fight isn't about party affiliation. It's about the survival. Now, some of the things O'Brien said at the RNC left the crowd in stunned silence. He didn't hold back when it came to calling out corruption and exploitation. He pointed out that union workers aren't the problem. Corporate greed is. He talked about how unions like the Teamsters have helped make companies like UPS the most efficient in the world. UPS doesn't pay good wages and benefits out of kindness of their hearts. They do it because the Teamsters fought for that. That's the power of collective bargaining. And let's not forget what's looming over all of this. Project 2025. If implemented, it'll rip away overtime protections, roll back workplace safety regulations, and make it even harder for workers to organize. That's why it was so significant for O'Brien to stand at the RNC and say that we're not going anywhere. He was putting the entire political and corporate establishment on notice. This fight isn't just about one union or one company. It's about protecting every worker in this country from policies that would drag us back to the days of unchecked corporate power. Think about this for a moment. During the pandemic, workers were called essential. They were heroes. But now that the stock market is booming and corporate salaries are skyrocketing, those same workers are being treated like they're disposable. Inflation is eating away at their paychecks, housing prices are out of reach, healthcare costs are skyrocketing, and yet billionaires like Bezos continue to hoard more wealth than entire nations. This is why the Teamsters fight matters. It's not just about Amazon. It's about all of us. It's about standing up to a system that prioritizes profits over people. It's about demanding a country where workers are treated with dignity, paid a fair wage, and given the protections that they deserve. And it's about never forgetting that the power of the people is greater than the greed of a few. We've got to keep pushing, because if we don't, billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk will keep using their wealth to influence policy, crush unions, and drive wages even lower. They'll keep lobbying for immigration laws that let them exploit foreign workers for dirt wages. They'll keep fighting to strip away protections that generations of workers have fought and died to secure. This isn't just a labor issue. It's a human issue. It's about making sure that every person in this country has the right to work in conditions that are safe and dignified. It's about ensuring that no one has to choose between their health and their paycheck. And it's about reminding people that when workers stand together, there's nothing that we cannot achieve. So let's take inspiration from Sean O'Brien and the Teamsters. Let's stand up, speak out, and fight back. Let's make sure that billionaires like Jeff Bezos know that we're not going anywhere. Together, we can win this fight, not just for the workers of today, but for generations that come after us, because this is about the soul of our nation, and it's a fight worth having. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.